Kung Jun stood in the corner of the throne room like a shadow. He had been standing there for 6 hours without moving. His legs hurt. His back was stiff. But he did not show any sign of discomfort on his face. That was his job. To watch, to protect, to be invisible until he was needed. The Empress sat on her golden throne, listening to the complaints of a merchant from the outer colonies. Her skin was pale blue, like the morning sky on Earth. Her eyes were large and dark, filled with an ancient wisdom that made June feel like a child. She was beautiful in a way that humans could never be. Cold and perfect, like a statue made of ice. June had served her for 3 years now. 3 years of standing in corners. 3 years of watching for danger. 3 years of being called the human by everyone in the palace. The Valorians did not think much of humans. They saw them as primitive creatures with short lives and simple minds. Most Valorians lived for 500 years. Humans were lucky to reach 100. To them, humans were like insects, brief and forgettable. But the Empress had chosen June as her personal guard. Nobody understood why. Some said she found humans amusing. Others said she wanted to insult the noble families by putting a lesser species so close to the throne. June did not care about the reasons. He only cared about keeping her safe. The merchant finished his complaint and bowed low before leaving. The Empress waved her hand and the doors closed. For a moment, the throne room was silent. Then Prince Orak walked in. June watched him carefully. The prince was tall and handsome, with silver hair that fell past his shoulders. His eyes were golden like coins. He smiled often, but his smiles never reached his eyes. June had learned to read people during his years as a soldier. He could tell when someone was hiding something. And Prince Orak was always hiding something. "My dear wife," Orak said, bowing slightly. "You look tired. Perhaps you should rest before the evening meal." The Empress smiled at her husband. "I am fine, Orak. There is still much work to do." Orak walked closer to the throne. His eyes moved to June for just a second. There was something cold in that look. Something dangerous. Then the prince looked back at his wife. "I wanted to speak with you about something important," Orak said. "About your guard." June kept his face blank. He had expected this conversation for a long time. "What about him?" the Empress asked. Orak sat on the arm of her throne. It was a bold move. Only the Empress was allowed to sit there. But she did not stop him. "The noble families are talking," Orak said softly. "They say it is strange that the Empress of the Valorian Empire trusts a human more than her own people. They say it makes you look weak." The Empress frowned. "I do not care what they say, but you should care, my love." Orak's voice was gentle like honey. "We need the support of the noble families. The celestial festival is coming. All the great houses will be watching. Do you want them to see a human standing at your side?" June felt something twist in his stomach. He knew what was happening. Orak was poisoning the Empress's mind. Slowly, carefully, like a snake. The Empress was quiet for a long moment. She looked at June. Her dark eyes were unreadable. "Kong June," she said finally. "Come forward." June walked to the throne and knelt before her. He kept his head down, as was proper. "You have served me well for 3 years," the Empress said. "You have been loyal and brave. But my husband speaks the truth. The noble families do not trust humans. They see your presence as an insult." June said nothing. He waited. "I am reassigning you to Border Station 7, the Empress continued. "It is a quiet post. You'll be safe there. And I will find a Valorian to take your place." The words hit June like a punch to the chest, but he did not let it show. He simply bowed his head lower. "As you wish, Your Majesty," he said. Orak smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but June saw it. He saw the victory in the prince's golden eyes. "You may go and prepare for your journey," the Empress said. "A transport will leave tomorrow morning." Gah. He bowed one final time. Then he turned and walked toward the door. As he passed Orak, the prince spoke softly, so softly that only June could hear. "Goodbye, human. Do not come back." June did not respond. He kept walking, but inside his mind, alarm bells were ringing. Something was wrong, very wrong. He left the throne room and walked through the palace halls. Valorian servants moved out of his way. Guards watched him with suspicious eyes. After 3 years, he was still a stranger here. He would always be a stranger. June went to his small room near the royal quarters. It was a simple room with a bed, a table, and a window that looked out at the stars. He sat on the bed and thought about what had just happened. Auroch wanted him gone. That much was clear. But why? June was just a bodyguard. He had no power, no influence. Why would the prince care so much about one human? Unless the prince was planning something. Something that required the empress to be unprotected. June remembered the look in Auroch's eyes. The cold satisfaction. The hidden smile. He remembered the way Auroch had glanced at General Torek during the last council meeting. The secret signal between them. Something bad was coming. June could feel it in his bones. He pulled out his communication device and typed a message. It was a simple message written in a code that only one other person would understand. Watch the Empress. Trust no one. Report anything strange. Sent the message to Park Somi. Somi was another human in the palace. She worked as a servant in the kitchens, but her real job was gathering information. She was an intelligence officer, sent by the human colonies to keep an eye on Valorian politics. June had worked with her before. He trusted her with his life. A few minutes later, his device buzzed. Sami's reply was short. Understood. Be careful. June put the device away. He looked out the window at the distant stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. He had not seen it in 10 years. He thought about the Empress. She had been kind to him in her own way. She had given him a chance when no other Valorian would. And now he was being sent away, and she did not even know the danger she was in. June made a decision. He would leave tomorrow as ordered. But he would not go to Border Station 7. He would stay close. He would watch. And if his suspicions were correct, he would come back, because that was what humans did. They fought for the people they cared about, even when it was dangerous, even when it was stupid, even when everyone told them to give up. June lay down on his bed and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would be a long day. He needed to rest. But sleep did not come easily. His mind was too full of questions, and one question was louder than all the others. What was Prince Auroch planning? The transport ship was cold and uncomfortable. June sat in the back with cargo boxes and sleeping workers. Nobody talked to him. Nobody looked at him. He was invisible again. Just another human traveling through space. The ship was supposed to take him too. Border Station 7, but June had other plans. When the ship stopped at Trading Post 93 for fuel, June quietly slipped away. Trading posts were busy places, full of merchants, smugglers, and travelers from 100 different worlds. It was easy to disappear in such a crowd. June found a small bar near the docking area. The air inside smelled like smoke and cheap alcohol. Strange aliens sat at dirty tables, drinking and talking in low voices. This was exactly the kind of place where secrets were traded. He ordered a drink and sat in a dark corner. For 2 hours, he just listened. He heard stories about smuggling routes and black market deals. He heard complaints about taxes and corrupt officials, but nothing useful. Then a drunk Valorian officer stumbled into the bar. The officer was young and foolish. His uniform was messy, and his eyes were red from drinking. He sat at the bar and ordered another drink. Soon, he started talking to anyone who would listen. Big changes coming, the officer muttered. Big changes at the palace. Everyone knows it. June moved closer. He pretended to be interested in his own drink, but his ears were focused on the officer. The Celestial Festival, the officer continued. That is when it will happen. The great houses are preparing. General Torek is moving his troops. Something big is coming. Chill ran down June's spine. The Celestial Festival was only 3 days away. It was the most important celebration in the Valorian calendar. The Empress would appear before thousands of her people. If someone wanted to make a move against her, that would be the perfect time. June waited until the officer passed out from drinking. Then he quietly searched the man's pockets. He found a small data chip hidden in the officer's coat. He took the chip and left the bar quickly. In a quiet alley, behind the trading post, he plugged the chip into his device. The information inside made his blood run cold. It was a list of names. Noble houses that supported Prince Aurak, generals who had pledged their loyalty, officials who had been paid to look the other way, and at the top of the list was a simple phrase, Succession Protocol Alpha. June did not know exactly what that meant, but he could guess. Aurak was planning to take the throne, and there was only one way to do that while the Empress was still alive. Murder June sent an urgent message to Somi. He needed more information. He needed to know the details of Aurak's plan. For 2 days, he waited at the trading post. He stayed hidden, changing his location every few hours. He knew that people might be looking for him. If Aurak discovered that June had not gone to Border Station 7, there would be trouble. On the 3rd day, Somi's message arrived. It was long and detailed. Somi had taken great risks to gather the information. She had broken into General Torek's private office. She had stolen encrypted files from the palace communication system. She had even bribed a servant who worked in the royal kitchens. The picture was now clear. Prince. Aurak planned to poison the Empress during the Celestial Festival. The poison would be mixed into the ceremonial wine that the Empress drank to bless the celebration. It was a special Valorian poison that killed slowly, making it look like natural heart failure. No one would suspect murder. After the Empress died, Aurak would claim the throne as her husband. General Turek and his shadow guards would kill anyone who opposed him. The noble houses that supported Aurak would be rewarded with power and wealth. Those who did not support him would be destroyed. The plan was simple and brutal. And it would work unless someone stopped it. Somi's message ended with a warning. They are watching me. I cannot do more. It is up to you now. You have 3 days. 3 days. The festival was in 3 days. June felt fear crawling through his body. He was just one man. One human against an empire. How could he stop a conspiracy that involved generals and noble houses and hundreds of soldiers? But then he thought about the Empress. She had trusted him. She had given him a place by her side when everyone else treated him like dirt. She did not deserve to die because of her husband's greed. June made his decision. He would go back to the capital. He would stop Aurak's plan, or he would die trying. But he could not do it alone. He needed help. He thought about the humans he knew in the Valorian Empire. There were not many. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most of them worked as servants or laborers, doing jobs that Valorians considered beneath them. But some humans had skills. Valuable skills. June remembered a man named Lee Doan. They had served together in the military many years ago. Doan was a smuggler now, running illegal goods through the Empire's borders. He knew every hidden route, every secret passage, every way to get into places where you were not supposed to be. June sent Doan a message. I need a favor. A big one. Meet me at the old coordinates. Doan's reply came quickly. You still owe me money from last time, but fine. I will be there. June also remembered a woman named Kim Yuna. She was a scientist, a chemist who worked in the palace medical wing. She studied alien biology and diseases. If anyone could create an antidote to Valorian poison, it was her. He sent Yuna a message to, I need your help. The Empress is in danger. Can you make an antidote to ceremonial poison? Yuna's reply took longer. When it finally came, it was cautious. That is very difficult. The poison is complex. But I will try. Why are you asking this? June explained the situation briefly. He told her about Aurak's plan. He told her about the festival. He told her that she might be the only one who could save the Empress's life. There was a long pause. Then Yuna replied, I will do it, but you must promise me something. If we succeed, you will tell the Empress that humans can be trusted, that we are not just servants and workers, that we deserve respect. June smiled for the first time in days. I promise. The pieces were coming together. Doan would get him into the palace. Yuna would create the antidote. And June would do what he did best. He would protect the Empress, even if she had sent him away. He booked passage on a cargo ship heading toward the capital. As the ship lifted off, June looked out the window at the stars. The Valorians thought humans were weak. They thought humans were simple creatures who gave up easily. They were wrong. Humans were stubborn. Humans were loyal. And when someone they cared about was in danger, humans did not stop fighting until the fight was over. Aurak had made a mistake. He had removed the one person who stood between him and his prize. But he had forgotten something. Important humans always come back. The cargo ship arrived at the capital planet 2 days before the festival. June did not go through the main spaceport. That would be too dangerous. By now, Aurak probably knew that June had not arrived at Border Station 7. There would be people looking for him instead. June met Lee Doan at an abandoned mining station on the dark side of one of the planet's moons. Doan was waiting for him in a small, beaten-up ship. He was a thin man with tired eyes and a crooked smile. His clothes were old and dirty. He did not look like much. But June knew better than to judge by appearances. Dohan was one of the smartest men he had ever met. "Kang June," Dohan said as June climbed aboard. "You look terrible. When did you last sleep?" "I will sleep when this is over," June replied. "Did you find a way into the palace?" Dohan nodded. "The maintenance tunnels. They run under the whole city. The Valorians use them for cleaning robots and repair drones. They are small and tight, but a human can fit through them if he is not too fat." He patted his own thin stomach. "Lucky for us, we are not fat." June studied the map that Doan had brought. The tunnels were like a maze, with hundreds of passages going in every direction. One wrong turn could lead to a dead end. Or worse, right into a guard station. "You will have to memorize this," Doan said. "No devices inside the tunnels. Too much interference. You will be on your own." June spent the next several hours studying the map. He traced the route from the tunnel entrance to the grand atrium where the festival would be held. It was a long journey through dark and narrow spaces, but it was possible. While June prepared, Doan made some calls. He had contacts everywhere in the capital. Smugglers, thieves, and rebels who hated the Valorian government. Most of them were human. "I put out the word," Doan said. "If things go bad at the festival, we will have people ready to cause some chaos. Nothing big, just enough to distract the guards." "Thank you," June said. "I know this is dangerous for you." Doan shrugged. "You saved my life once. On that moon base, when the air system failed, you gave me your oxygen mask, even though you barely had enough for yourself. I never forgot that." June remembered. It was a long time ago when they were both young soldiers. He had not thought about it in years. "Besides," Dohan continued, "the Valorians treat us like garbage. If we can hurt their precious prince, I am happy to help." The next morning, June traveled to the capital city hidden in a cargo container. It was uncomfortable and dark, but it kept him hidden from the security scanners. Doan dropped him off near the entrance to the maintenance tunnels, in an old industrial area where nobody asked questions. "Good luck," Doan said. "Try not to die." "I will try," June replied. He climbed down into the tunnels and began the long journey toward the palace. The tunnels were dark and cold. Water dripped from the ceiling. Strange sounds echoed from far away. June moved slowly and carefully, checking his memory against the turns and passages. Several times he had to stop and hide when cleaning robots passed by. The robots were not dangerous, but they had cameras. If they recorded a human crawling through the tunnels, security would be alerted. After 4 hours of crawling through darkness, June reached a service hatch near the palace medical wing. He waited until the hallway above was empty, then pushed open the hatch and climbed out. Kim Yuna was waiting for him in a storage room filled with medical supplies. She was a small woman with short black hair and serious eyes. She wore the white coat of a palace scientist. "You made it," she said, sounding relieved. "I was worried. Do you have the antidote?" June asked. Yuna held up a small bottle filled with clear liquid. It took me all night to make this. The poison they plan to use is very advanced. It attacks the heart slowly, making it look like natural failure. This antidote will stop the poison, but only if it is given within a few minutes of exposure. June took the bottle carefully. It was so small, hard to believe that something so tiny could save a life. There's one problem, Yuna said. I do not know exactly when they will give the Empress the poisoned wine. If you give her the antidote too early, it will not work. Too late, and she will already be dead. I understand, June said. I will have to time it perfectly. Yuna looked at him with something like admiration. You are really going to do this? One human against the prince and all his guards. I do not have a choice, June said. She trusted me. I cannot let her die. Yuna nodded slowly. I wish I was as brave as you. I have wanted to fight back against the Valorians for years, but I was always too scared. You are fighting back now, June said. This antidote might save everything. That took courage. Yuna smiled slightly. It was a small smile, but it was real. She gave June a palace servant uniform that she had stolen from the laundry. It would help him blend in during the festival. She also gave him a map of the Grand Atrium, marking the locations of guard stations and security cameras. Park Somi sent me this, Yuna explained. She has been watching the preparations for the festival. She knows where everything will be. June studied the map carefully. The Empress would sit on a raised platform at the center of the atrium. Prince Auric would be beside her. The ceremonial wine would be presented by the high priest at exactly midnight. The plan was simple. June would hide in the atrium before the festival began. When Auric presented the poisoned wine to the Empress, June would stop her from drinking it. Then he would reveal Auric's treachery in front of everyone. It was a simple plan. But simple plans often went wrong. What if the guards catch you? Yuna asked. What if they kill you before you can reach the Empress? Then at least I tried, June said. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, when I first came to this planet, I hated everything about it. The Valorians looked at me like I was nothing. They called me names. They treated me like a servant, even though I had more education than most of them. She paused. But you are different, June. You do not let them break you. You keep fighting, even when there is no hope. That is something special. June did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as special. He was just doing what needed to be done. Should go, he said finally. The festival starts tomorrow night. I need to find a place to hide. Yuna walked him to the door of the storage room. Before he left, she grabbed his arm. Be careful, she said. And when this is over, when the Empress is safe, remember your promise. Tell her that humans deserve respect. Tell her that we are more than just servants. I will, June said. He slipped out into the hallway wearing the servant uniform, carrying the antidote in his pocket. Tomorrow, everything would change. Either he would save the Empress, or he would die trying. There was no other option. Humans did not give up. That was their greatest strength. And Prince Auric was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The Grand Atrium was the most beautiful place June had ever seen. The ceiling was made of glass, showing the stars above. Thousands of lights floated in the air like tiny suns. Golden decorations covered the walls. Music played softly from hidden speakers. Thousands of Valorians filled the great hall, dressed in their finest clothes. Noble lords and ladies, military officers in polished uniforms, merchants and officials and priests. They talked and laughed and drank expensive wine. Nobody noticed the human servant standing in the shadows near the back wall. June had been hiding in the atrium for 6 hours. He had found a small space behind a curtain near one of the maintenance doors. From there, he could see the raised platform where the Empress would sit. He could see the path that the high priest would take when presenting the ceremonial wine. He could see everything. His heart was beating fast. His hands were sweating. The antidote was still in his pocket, but it felt heavier now, like it was made of stone instead of glass. The festival was almost ready to begin. At exactly 9 o'clock, great doors opened, and the Empress walked in. She was wearing a dress made of silver light. Her blue skin glowed softly in the floating lights. Her dark eyes moved across the crowd, seeing everything and nothing at the same time. She looked like a goddess. June felt a pain in his chest. He had forgotten how beautiful she was. He had forgotten how much he wanted to protect her. Prince Aurak walked beside the Empress, holding her hand. He was smiling his false smile, playing the role of the loving husband. Behind them came General Torek and 20 shadow guards, dressed in black armor. The Empress climbed the steps to the raised platform and sat on her throne. Aurak sat in a smaller chair beside her. Torek and his guards took positions around the platform. Watching the crowd with cold eyes, the festival began. There were speeches and songs and performances. Dancers moved through the air like birds. Fireworks exploded silently above the glass ceiling. The crowd cheered and clapped. Everyone was having a wonderful time. Everyone except June. He watched the clock on the wall. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Each minute felt like an hour. He checked the antidote again and again, making sure it was still safe. At 11:30, something happened. A small explosion went off in the eastern wing of the palace. It was not a big explosion, just enough to make a loud noise and create some smoke. Immediately, half of Torek's guards ran toward the sound. Leaving only 10 soldiers to protect the platform, June smiled slightly. Somi had done her job. The distraction was working, but Torek was not fooled. The general looked around the atrium with suspicious eyes. He spoke into a communicator, probably calling for more guards. June knew he did not have much time. The clock struck midnight. The crowd fell silent. The high priest, an old Valorian with white robes and a golden staff, walked slowly toward the platform. He carried a silver tray with 2 crystal cups filled with dark red wine, the ceremonial wine. June's heart stopped. This was it. This was the moment. The high priest climbed the steps and bowed before the Empress. He held out the tray offering the wine. "Your Majesty," the priest said in a loud voice, "please accept this sacred wine to bless the celestial festival and bring prosperity to your empire." The Empress reached for one of the cups. June moved. He burst from behind the curtain and ran toward the platform. People screamed. Guards shouted. Everything was chaos. Torek saw him first. The general pulled out his weapon and fired. The blast hit June in the shoulder, spinning him around. Pain exploded through his body, but he did not stop. He kept running. Another guard tried to block his path. June ducked under the guard's arm and kicked him in the knee. The guard fell. June jumped over him and kept running. He reached the platform just as the Empress was lifting the cup to her lips. "No." June shouted. He threw himself forward and knocked the cup from her hands. The wine splashed across the floor, dark red like blood. The crystal cup shattered into 1,000 pieces. For a moment, everything was silent. The Empress stared at June with wide eyes. She did not understand what was happening. Nobody did. Then Aurak spoke. "Guards, kill him. He is trying to assassinate the Empress." The remaining guards rushed toward June. He was on his knees, holding his wounded shoulder. Blood was running between his fingers. He knew he could not fight them all, but he did not need to fight. He only needed to speak.
"Your Majesty,"
June shouted, looking up at the Empress. "The wine was poisoned? Your husband is trying to kill you. Test the wine yourself." The crowd gasped. Aurak's face went pale. "Lies," the prince screamed. "This human is insane. Kill him now." But the Empress raised her hand. The guard stopped. "Wait," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was something dangerous in her eyes. She looked at the spilled wine on the floor. Then she looked at her husband. "Test the wine," she commanded. "This is ridiculous," Aurak said. "You cannot believe this human over your own husband." I said, "Test the wine." The high priest knelt down and collected some of the spilled wine in a small tube. He pulled out a testing device and added a few drops of the wine. Everyone watched in silence. The device beeped. The priest looked at the results. His old face went white. "Your Majesty," he whispered, "the wine contains poison. Deadly poison." The crowd exploded with noise. People shouted and screamed. Some tried to run away. Others pushed forward to see what was happening. Orac's face twisted with rage. He knew it was over. His plan had failed. "You stupid human," he hissed at June. "You have ruined everything." He pulled a knife from his belt and lunged at June. But the Empress moved faster. She grabbed Orac's wrist and twisted it with surprising strength. The knife fell from his hand. "Guards," the Empress said coldly. "Arrest Prince Orac for attempted murder of the royal throne." Orac struggled and screamed, but the guards dragged him away. General Torek tried to help his master, but suddenly there were humans everywhere. Doan's people had come through the maintenance doors, armed with tools and pipes in fury. They surrounded Torek and his remaining guards. Torek pulled out his weapon, ready to fight, but he was outnumbered. One of the humans hit him from behind with a metal pipe. The general fell to the ground and did not get up. The chaos lasted only a few minutes. When it was over, Orac was in chains. Torek was unconscious on the floor. The shadow guards had surrendered. June was still on his knees, bleeding from his wound. His vision was getting blurry. He had lost a lot of blood. The Empress knelt down beside him. Her face was close to his. He could see the shock in her dark eyes. The confusion. The gratitude. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why did you come back?" "I sent you away." June tried to smile, but it came out as a grimace. "You were in danger," he said. "I could not stay away. You were just a human. You could have died." Yes, June agreed. "But some things are more important than staying alive." Duh. The Empress stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that nobody expected. She reached out and touched his face gently. "Foolish human," she said. But there was no anger in her voice, only wonder. Then June's eyes closed and everything went dark. June woke up in a soft bed. The ceiling above him was white and clean. Machines beeped quietly beside him. His shoulder was wrapped in bandages and his body felt weak. But he was alive. He turned his head and saw Kim Yuna sitting in a chair by the window. She was reading something on a tablet, her face serious and focused. "How long was I unconscious?" June asked. His voice was rough and dry. Yuna looked up and smiled. 3 days. The doctors said you lost too much blood. They were not sure you would survive." She paused. "But you are human. We are harder to kill than they think, eh?" June tried to sit up, but pain shot through his shoulder. He lay back down and groaned. "Do not move too much," Yuna said. "The wound is healing, but it will take time." "What happened?" June asked. "After I passed out." Yuna put down her tablet and moved her chair closer to the bed. Prince Orac confessed everything. When the Empress showed him the evidence we gathered, he broke down completely. He admitted to planning her murder. He admitted to working with General Torek and the noble houses. He blamed everyone except himself, of course. And the Empress? She is fine. "Thanks to you," Yuna smiled again. "She has been asking about you every day. She wanted to visit, but her advisors said it would be improper for the Empress to visit a human in the medical wing." June laughed, then winced at the pain. "Some things never change." "Actually," Yuna said, "some things have changed. Park Somi has been promoted. She is now the head of Palace Intelligence. The Empress said she wanted someone who was actually loyal, not someone who could be bought by ambitious princes." "What about Doan? And the other humans who helped?" "They have been pardoned for all their crimes. The Empress said they showed more honor than most Valorians. She offered them jobs in the palace if they want them," Yuna grinned. "Doan said he would rather eat rocks than work for the government. But he appreciated the offer." June smiled. That sounded like Doan. For a few minutes, they sat in comfortable silence. June thought about everything that had happened. He had gone from being a dismissed guard to saving the Empress from assassination. It felt like a dream. "There is something else," Yuna said. "The Empress wants to see you. As soon as you are well enough to walk, you are to report to the throne room." "Did she say why?" Yuna shook her head. "No, but she seemed serious. Not angry, just serious." 3 days later, June was strong enough to leave the medical wing. His shoulders still hurt, and he moved slowly, but he could walk without help. He put on a clean uniform that Yuna had provided and made his way to the throne room. The palace felt different now. The guards who used to ignore him nodded respectfully as he passed. Servants who used to look at him with disgust now looked at him with curiosity. Even some of the nobles stepped aside to let him through. News of what he had done had spread throughout the empire. The human who saved the empress. The human who stopped a prince. It was a story that people would tell for generations. June reached the throne room and stopped at the great doors. He took a deep breath. Then he pushed the doors open and walked inside. The empress was sitting on her throne, just like the first day he had met her. But something was different. She looked older somehow. Wiser. There were shadows under her dark eyes, like she had not slept well in many nights. She was alone. No guards, no advisors. Just her and the empty room. "Come closer," she said. June walked to the foot of the throne and knelt, as was proper.
Oh.
"Stand up," the empress said. "You do not kneel to me anymore?" June stood, confused. He did not understand what she meant. The empress looked at him for a long moment. Her face was unreadable. "Do you know what my advisors told me after the festival?" she asked. "No, your majesty. They told me I was a fool. They said I should have seen Orak's betrayal coming. They said I was too trusting, too weak." She paused. "They were right." June started to speak, but she raised her hand to stop him. "But you," she continued, "you saw the truth when no one else did. You came back when everyone expected you to disappear. You risked your life for someone who had sent you away." She tilted her head slightly. "Why?" June thought about the question. It was the same question she had asked him at the festival when he was bleeding on the floor. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said simply. "You trusted me once. I could not let you down." The empress nodded slowly. "That is what the humans call loyalty, is it not? Staying true even when it costs you everything."
Yes, your majesty.
"My people do not understand such loyalty. We are too logical, too careful. We only help others when it benefits us." She stood up from her throne and walked down the steps until she was standing right in front of June. "But humans are different. You do things that make no sense. You fight when you should run. You love when you should hate. You forgive when you should seek revenge." She reached out and took June's hand. Her skin was cool against his. "I was wrong about your kind," she said. "I thought humans were simple creatures, primitive, weak, but you have shown me that I was blind." She turned and walked back to her throne. When she sat down, her expression was formal again, like a queen about to make an important announcement. "Kong June," she said in a loud official voice, "for your service to the throne, for your courage in the face of death, for your loyalty beyond all reason, I give you a new title. From this day forward, you will be known as the Shield of the Empress. You will stand at my side, protect me from all dangers, and advise me in all matters. This honor has never before been given to anyone outside of the Valorian race." June's heart stopped. He could not believe what he was hearing. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "I am honored. But I have a request. Speak." Humans throughout the empire are treated as servants and workers. They are denied opportunities. They are looked down upon by everyone. June paused. "I ask that you give them a chance to prove themselves, as I did. Let them serve in the military. Let them work as scientists and officials. Let them show that they are more than just cheap labor." The Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was a real smile, the first one June had ever seen on her face. "You bargain like a politician," she said. "Very well. I will open new paths for humans in my empire. They will have the chance to prove their worth." No. June bowed his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty." That evening, June stood on the palace balcony, looking out at the stars. The capital city glowed below him like a sea of lights. Somewhere out there, millions of people were going about their lives. Unaware of how close they had come to chaos, the Empress joined him on the balcony. She stood beside him in silence, looking at the same stars. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. Of course, could have stayed away. You could have gone to Border Station 7 and lived a quiet life. No one would have blamed you. She turned to look at him. Why did you come back? June considered the question carefully before answering. Humans do not do loyalty because it makes sense, he said. We do it because it is who we are. Even when it hurts. Even when it is dangerous. Even when everyone tells us to give up. He looked at her. That is our greatest strength. And also our greatest weakness. The Empress was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Perhaps that is why your species frightens mine. You are unpredictable. You do things that no logical being would do. June smiled slightly. Is that a bad thing? No, the Empress said softly. I think it might be the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. A human and an alien queen. Two beings from different worlds. Brought together by loyalty and courage and something that neither of them could name. The Empire would face many challenges in the years to come. There would be enemies and betrayals and difficult choices. But for now, in this moment, everything was peaceful. And Kang Jun knew that whatever happened next, he would face it standing at the Empress's side, because that was what humans did. They stayed loyal until the very end.